So how did you actually transition from being a rapper into an actor? Like who actually gave you your first start, and how did that?
Well, I felt that at one point, as we talked about earlier, sometimes, you know, when you create music, sometimes you got that, I can't wait to do the next song. And then sometimes you're like, okay, I ain't in the spirit to create this music right now. When I found myself in those places, I said it gotta be something else artistically out there for me. Like I just knew I had to find another expression. This was like late 90s. I was always in the films, going to plays. I loved it, but I never knew I could do it. Because when I first did it when I was a kid, my mother saw my play and she kept talking how good my homie was. And it was, you know, you think your mother would say, good job, but she was like, yo, Derek was incredible in that joint. I was like, okay, well.
I said, yeah, I saw you up there too.
I was like, okay. Well, so I ended up not even thinking about, and plus, like, at the time, it wasn't like, I ain't gonna put it all on that, but a lot of it was like, I'm into this hip hop thing, and so I wasn't thinking about pursuing it for myself. But somewhere in that late 90s period, I was like, man, I wanna try acting. I really want to, because I always loved it, and loved watching movies and loved theater. And I went to acting class. And the first acting class I went to, I was like, man, this is incredible. Like, I feel that love, like, that I felt. It's not the same exact as music, but it's got just as much love for the art form when I started it. So I was like, man, I got to just keep going to class. So I was going to class. I would be on tour. Every time I would come back, I was just going to classes and going to classes. Then the classes started going to, okay, go do auditions. I was going to auditions, getting turned down. And ironically enough, when we were editing the video for Testify, and I had did an audition for this movie called Smokin Aces. And
that's the first one.
My first movie.
Yeah.
And like, it was the first time I got a call back. And I remember going into the editing room. I just come from like the audition. I still had on my suit because I was playing this character that had, you know, was like a bodyguard, but he was sharp. So I went into that editing room still geeked, like, yo, and I got a call back. And then it happened where I got a second call back. And that's when I had to I got the second call back, which was like, you got the job. And I had to literally, I was crying when I got that job. I called my mother like, yo, I got a movie. And but I had to hang up that phone with all that joy and then go into the hotel room next door and tell Kanye I couldn't go on this tour. Like, I had booked, they had promoted me and everything.
What tour was it?
It was with him, Keisha Cole. It's probably around 2005 or 6. I don't remember the name of it. It had to be 2005 because that's when we started.
Congratulations. Maybe it's the Glow in the Dark?
Yeah, it might. No, I think it was before Glow in the Dark. But it was anyway. It was a real crazy dynamic because Yates definitely was like, man, it's all good, bro. Like, he kind of was supporting me going into my dream, and though it was some business aspects that had to be maneuvered that my manager at the time, Derek, made happen, that was my step into acting. And it was good to get that love and support from like somebody who I'm like, man, we in this partnership doing music and things, but he was like, man, go pursue that. If that's your dream, go do it.
Yeah, so I remember that, the announcement when you got Smokin Aces, because that leads to Just Right.
Yeah.
Which is now, you're not just like a role, like you're the lead.
That's the lead.
You and the Queen,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And obviously Cube had done it at the time. Will had done it. Obviously Queen Latifa had done it. Pac, obviously. And now you're the guy that's having a lead role in a movie. You cried the first time. What was that reception like when you got the call to say like, nah, you're going to be the lead actor in this movie now?
Man, that's one of them calls where as soon as you get the call, you start going into like training mode. Meaning I was super excited because Queen Latifah is a very talented actress, and she just, people love her and people show up for her movies. And for me, it was, wow, I'm about to be a leading man in a film. And I hadn't had that opportunity. I played all these supporting roles. So I felt the pressure. To be honest, my first days of filming, I wasn't doing good. And they had talks behind the cameras about like, are we gonna keep this dude on for this? And I remember it was a scene that Queen Latifah and our characters had sitting in this jazz club, and it just was something about the scene that felt good to me. It was natural. We didn't even have a lot of dialogue. And from that moment, the director was like, and the producer's like, that's all we need. Just do that. What I didn't know at that time was like, in a romantic comedy, people are mostly themselves in a romantic comedy, right? Like they bring in more the essence of just them. It's not like you disappear in a character in a romantic comedy most of the time. Like, you know, when you see Heath Ledger in the Joker, as the Joker, God bless his soul, he is the Joker. But when you see like Matthew McConaughey in a you know, a romantic comedy, or, you know, even like what Queen Latifah did before, it's like, it's some of the elements of herself. When she doing Set It Off, that's a different thing. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all understand? Like you got to go deeper in those dramatic roles or those characters where you creating a whole character. Romantic comedy, they want you to bring more of your essence, be light. I didn't know that, and I was trying to do something else in the first days, and then eventually I just had to let go and be like, okay, cool. Because one of my favorite things about acting is becoming somebody else in different ways. You know, like, and I love when I'm watching a movie, when somebody's watching a movie that I'm in and knows me, and they say, man, I ain't even see Rashad in that. I ain't even see you in that. I saw the Sir Ivy or Cassian from John Wick 2. Or I see Robert Sims. That's a compliment to me.
Well, how do you, because from
Can you hoop though?
Can I hoop? Yeah, I can.
Yeah, you can play ball.
Yeah, I can hoop because
that's part of the role.
That was part of the role. That was part of the role, and I made sure that my stunt double didn't get no tickets. Yeah, I was like, there was no way I was gonna go back home to Chicago and they see a stunt double in the movie where I'm playing a basketball.
Yeah, that's crazy. The stunt double for basketball.
Yeah.
But so, but from an actor standpoint, like I've heard actors saying like they struggled with getting out of character. Like when you go that far into character. Have you ever been in that vibe where, who was it? Somebody said it took like 6 months for them to actually get out of the character, and it actually caused a lot of problems in their life.
Yeah, I think Denzel might have said
that.
I think
Denzel said that.
I definitely have had times where, it took me time to get out of the character. Mostly while I'm filming, meaning like I come home with some of that energy, and I've times where I've been like, I've had heavy days of filming where like the scenes is heavy, and on the ride home I just broke down, cause like I played on a show called Hell on Wheels when my character was getting hung. It was like taking place in the Reconstruction era, where it's like the building of the Continental Railroad, and man, my character was getting hung. And man, I could not that feeling and just thinking about all of our ancestors that had went through that. Man, when I got in that van on the way home, I was just like, couldn't hold it, man. And it comes out in different ways too, like where you playing that killer and you shooting somebody all day. Like, I remember just coming home one day and being like, I gotta go watch a dumb movie, just a movie that don't got where I ain't gotta think about nothing. Because I just was feeling heavy. You holding that gun, shooting somebody, blah, blah, blah. Them guns is real powerful. Like they just don't have gunpowder in the bullet, but you still getting the same charge. So, it makes you have compassion towards people who dealing with that type of stuff all the time.